Hi, Jonathan. Long time no see.
Hi, Ethan. What should we talk about today?
Today, we're going to talk about the benefits of early wins in teaching BIM.
Oh, no, this is a subject that's really close to my heart. This idea of giving early wins. Ethan, I actually wrote the Vectorworks training manuals for 8 years. I actually wrote the manuals that they sold. And prior to that, I wrote my own manuals for several years. So I've been writing training manuals for Vectorworks, but it doesn't matter what CAD program we're talking about, the same principles apply. When I was doing classes, what I used to teach was this is how we use all the tools. This is the introduction to the CAD program. This is how we use the line tool. This is how we use the wall tool. This is how we use this tool, and so on. And I noticed that the students that I was teaching became very disenchanted with the program because there was so much to learn, and they really didn't feel like they were getting any kind of win at all. So over the years, I changed that. Now, one of the first things was that I got the students to draw a simple rectangle and then use the information or the object info palette to change that information or to change that rectangle to the sizes they wanted and then dimension it and then change the size of that object and notice the dimensions update. And this was like an early win that would show the student that they're in charge, that they would actually do something, they could actually see the results straight away on the screen. And that was pretty good. But then someone told me, I can't remember who told me, but he gave me this great advice, which was to do something early to get an early win. And I think it might have been a secondary school teacher told me this. And what they said was, do something fun. So what I did, I chose chapter 1 is where you learn the basic tools, you learn the interface, and you get an early win by doing dimensioning. But chapter 2 was learning to do 3D modeling. Because if you do 3D modeling, it's fun. It's fun for the student. That makes it an early win. But you can also use that fun topic to cover really fundamental concepts like where's the modeling layer? Where do we do the modeling of the building? Where do we do the drawings of the building? And you can do a really simple object that shows them how drawings are created in this BIM program, how we attach information to objects in BIM, and how we use the BIM to create the drawings. But we don't worry about scheduling at the stage. So it's a really simple exercise that shows really fundamental concepts and they learn in a fun way. These days, what would we call it today? We'd call it gamification, wouldn't we? We're gamifying our learning, but that's not what we called it then. I just called it early wins. And I noticed that the students, when we did this, they'd really develop their understanding early. So the idea is when you're teaching to really give the student an easy thing to do that allows you to then include some really vital abstract concepts. Remember that we're dealing with BIM is full of these abstract concepts. Where's modeling done? Where's creating viewports to put on the drawing or viewpoints in ArchiCAD to put on a drawing? And whereas when we teach manual drafting, you draw a line. Hey, I've learned to draw a line. I've learned to draw a beautiful line and it's straight. Now you say to them, we have to model a building, then we have to create viewpoints, and then we have to put them on a sheet layer or a layout, and then we can print them. And so you've lost that connection, that physical connection between, I need a line on the page, I've got a pencil, I can draw a line, it's there instantly, to this abstract concept of I model, and then my drawings are somehow with this abstract concept connected to a page. And I think that you need to have this early win by just doing a simple 3D model. It's
Mhm.
very easy to do, but then shows them how those things connect together. And to me, it's always worked really well to have that early win. And I really appreciate the person who taught me that. I,
Well,
there's a couple of things that people have taught me over the years. One was repetition is the mother of learning.
mhm.
So you have to keep repeating yourself all the time. But there was this other one, this early wins to learn. I think he was applying it to something else, but I took that and applied it to our BIM modeling. And it's worked out really well to give that student the fun thing. Because the other thing is that when you try and teach all the tools, it is just boring. And so you end up losing the students. If you try and teach all the tools, you end up losing them. So you've got to teach them fun stuff, the 3D modeling. And of course, as soon as you got the 3D model before you make drawings, hey, let's turn it around. Let's walk through it. Let's make another one. Let's
Mhm.
make a walkthrough. Let's have some fun with this. Put some colors on it, turn some lights on. And of course, by doing all those fun things, turning on lights and turning on colors and adding textures, you're also teaching them how to take control of their building information model, but they don't realize that. They just think they're having fun with the model, but you're really teaching them some fundamental concepts. And I always thought that was a good thing to do.
That's good. Yeah, I'm currently teaching BIM, the basic BIM with Revit. So my other colleague is teaching ArchiCAD. I'm teaching Revit. So yeah, the same concept. I'm using it because the first day we start drawing a square lines. After that, started building walls, roof, and getting more and more complex. But every section has a task. That's how I structure the code and let them appreciate it. And also, I create some curiosity of how to do that. Yeah, that's a good concept of teaching BIM, and actually not just BIM. All the courses I have included that kind of concept. For example, what did I teach? And other one is okay, the design principle in constructions. For the design principles, I just make it like mini episode, mini tasks, and they say, okay, today we'll do task one, and let them do it in the classroom, and they can ask the questions. And after that, if they don't, they took as a homework, and next week that's their win. So they're quite happy about the progress and the excitement. And if the students are excited and it goes, it moved, and the result is good. If the students are not excited of what they want to do, they don't even care. They don't touch anything. The attention span is quite short nowadays, including us. So we need to make
Yeah,
sure everybody's engaged.
that's why we have a short podcast. No,
Yeah.
just kidding. So I think that a student doesn't understand the thought process that you've gone to make sure that each of those tasks is achievable and fun to do. Might seem like you've forgotten something, but I don't think that they understand that you've gone through a deep appreciation of what's required and how we're going to get that student from nothing to that part that's required, and how you're going to break that up into simple, manageable chunks where each chunk is a win. So we
Yeah.
start off with an early win right at the beginning to try to make the student feel good, because a lot of this is about building confidence, building their confidence in the program. And so the first early win is really vital to make sure they're confident right from the beginning. And then the next stage can be a bit more difficult, and the next stage can be a little bit more abstract, and so on. But each one builds on the last one. So the reason I do it my way, I read a book by Edward de Bono
Mhm.
called Simplicity. And in Simplicity, Edward de Bono says that we should always teach backwards. Now, it took me a long time to figure out how I could apply that to my CAD training, because he used the example of the alphabet, and he said that we should teach the alphabet backwards so that we're always repeating the part that we know
Mhm.
last. And I thought, I wasn't sure that was a great example, because
Uh,
we normally learn the alphabet forwards.
I call it reverse engineering.
I guess you could. But what I thought was that I could take the core of that learning and apply it. So the idea was I taught how to draw a rectangle.
Yeah.
The next thing we did was to draw the same rectangle and then extrude it. So we're building on top of what we already know. Draw a rectangle, now we extrude it. The next stage is you draw another rectangle and extrude it and put one on top of the other. And the next one we draw a third rectangle and put it on top. And each time we repeat from the beginning. Draw a rectangle, extrude it, draw a rectangle, put it on top, draw a rectangle, put it on top. And once we've got that completed shape, we can then make drawings. So then we start from the beginning again, we make the model, we then create drawings from it. And so each time you're going back over the same kind of thing again, you're repeating what you've done. There was one manual where I made a much more complex object. It was a bracket with the radius corners, and it had 3 holes in it. And so the student would draw it in 2D, and then I'd show them how to model it in 3D. But it wasn't as successful as just having something really simple. And so the problem with the bracket was, while it was really quite cool and I could carry it right through my
Mhm.
course, it started out being too complex. And so the student didn't get an early win. And all they could see is, wow, that's really complicated, and which is completely the wrong thing. And so I tried that, had to had to give it away and go back to this really simple thing
Yeah.
of the really early win.
Mm.
So that was what I took from Edward de Bono, was that repeating that concept. So that as you repeat that concept, it becomes really clear. So for example, if you want your students to learn in Revit, you want them to learn how to model, how to use stories, how to create drawings, then it's a really good idea to start with a really simple 4 walls, put 2 windows in. If you know the Open Polytechnic course, they've got a very simple little shed. I think
Yes.
it's got 2 windows and a door. And do something like that. So it's really quick and easy to do, because the first time you do it, you can just draw it, put a simple roof on it. The next time you do it, you can draw it, you can put a simple roof on it, you can make an elevation or a plan, make a plan from it. The
Mhm.
next time we draw it, we make a plan and an elevation, because each time you're repeating substantial parts of that learning.
Yes.
We can't do it backwards. We can't make the elevation
No.
before we've made the building,
No.
which is Edward de Bono would say you should do it the other way around, but it doesn't work. And so that way you could then start to say, okay, well, it's a simple building, because this is what I did in ArchiCAD, was to do a real simple building and gradually build it up. So
Mhm.
you start with a simple building, we keep repeating those things. But now, once we've done the plan and the elevation, we can do a section.
Yeah.
Then we can start to apply what we've learned from other courses in terms of detailing, putting in the details in the sections.
Mhm.
And that, I think, is a great way of getting those early wins.
Yeah.
Now, your design of the course, I think
Mhm.
that's called your pedagogy,
Yeah.
the design of your course. And the way that we're talking about building up the skill level, we call that scaffolding. So we're gradually scaffolding their learning to more complex things. Because once we've taught them how to draw a simple building with walls, with doors and windows, with roof, with elevations and sections, and we then make it a complex building, it's the same steps. There's just more of it.
Yeah.
There's more walls to draw. There's more doors and windows to put in, but
Yeah.
it's still the same as putting in the simple ones.
Correct.
So that's what in fact, for my free manual that I give away, a free Vectorworks manual called Quick Start to Vectorworks Architect, and another one called Quick Start to Vectorworks Landmark. And those are designed to teach really simple skills like drawing the simple house and creating the plans, sections, and elevations from it, so that the student can learn the manuals aren't very long. They're probably only 30, 40 pages long. 85, I think they're quite short. Lots of
Mhm.
pictures. So,
Yeah.
there's not much writing. There's hardly any reading to do. And so the idea is that they can learn that, and they can learn my style, and they can all take that away. It's a free thing. So they can actually learn to do something effective from ArchiCAD, from Vectorworks. And I wrote the
Yeah.
quick start for ArchiCAD. And it was amazing, really, to watch. After the students have been using ArchiCAD for most of the year, I walked around the class. They've still got my quick start guide out,
That's
because
good.
it still has valuable stuff in it.
That's really cool. Yeah.
So if you haven't already written one, I'd say write yourself a quick start for Revit.
Oh, yeah, I should.
Give people an easy win for Revit.
Yeah, I should. That's a good one. Good. You have pointed out the good things. Yep.
If you need hand, Ethan, I can help you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Yeah. All right. I think we should end the podcast. Thank you so much for watching. And please don't forget to subscribe on Spotify.
Thanks, Ethan.
Thank you. And see you next week.